Within this lesson, we're going to add some interactivity over here within our HTML code and interact with a JavaScript function. Now there's a number of ways to do that, but the way that we're just going to do this is we're just going to use the OnClick. And this is an attribute that you can set within your HTML, and you can call over to a JavaScript function. So we're just going to create a function over here that's I'd call it show result. And from here, what we're going to do is we're going to call over to this function. And the way to call over to the function, you just do OnClick equals, and then don't forget those curly brackets there, or the round brackets, and close that and click to get a new value. So this can be anything because this is just HTML, and whatever content is between here is what's going to show up on that button. So when I click it, it runs this function, and right now we don't really have anything happening within this function. So what I want to do is I want to pick out, so I want to use this my choice thing that I had before, and what I want to do is I want to do a random, and then I want to output that random output there. So we're just going to copy this over, and we're just going to set a brand new random, and we're going to do random, and we're going to do my choice random. So whenever this function is called or whenever this button is clicked, what's going to happen is it's going to activate this function, and then this function is this is the same one that we had before where we were using that random. So we're going to show the random number that was selected, and we're going to add HTML, so we're doing a new line there, and then we're going to select my choice. And again, that my choice function, maybe I can copy that one over and bring that one to the top as well. And it's going to bring this one up so it's a little bit more readable. And again, normally what I would do is I would try to reorganize this so it's a little bit more readable when you're coming and taking a look at it. But for now, for the purposes of this lesson, we're just going to reuse some of this code that we had here initially, and we're going to see if this works. And yeah, so now every time I click it, it does a new value, and whatever that value is, it runs the my choice function, and it does the scan, and it picks out. So there's a 33% chance it's a rock, 33% chance it's paper, 33% chance it's scissors. And then we can also build out a second one and have maybe another button that's running that same function and returning that same result, maybe placing it in another area. So we don't necessarily need to output this my random value. So I'm just going to get rid of that. And again, we can see that we've got this rock, paper, scissors. I'm just going to save this. And so now all it's doing is it's simply picking out one of the three choices there. And actually we're going to add a second clickable area, and we're going to do this within the DOM. So I'm just going to do a div, and I'm going to give it an ID of second to do another. And I'm just going to close up that div. So this is giving us another clickable area, and with this one we're actually going to set up a listener for the DOM. So much like what we were doing here, we were doing get element by ID. We're going to set up an event listener. So again, there's a few different ways to do this. We could set up this as new button, and from here we would do document and then again that get element by ID in order to be able to select the particular element that we're looking at, and this time we called it second. And then next we can call back over to this object that we created and do add and the event listener that we're going to add is going to be called click. So we're going to be listening for a click, and when that click happens, we're actually just going to run a function. So I'm going to put that in here, and again there's a number of different ways to format it, so sometimes maybe this might not be the best way to format it, so there are different ways to do that, and I'm just going to tidy that up quickly. And so we're going to have our event here, so when this gets clicked we want to have whatever this event is, we want this to function, and I'm going to put a second output area. Copy this one so that I have two output areas, so I don't just have one. And for this one I'm just going to do set the inner HTML, and I'm just going to do clicked. And so now when we click this, when it reloads here, we see that we got this clicked here that's showing up. So what we want to do is we want to run another random and then output that random value with the my choice. So I'm going to just copy this. And this is often like a really good way to do it, where you just simply copy and paste. Saves you the trouble of rewriting things, and then when you are writing out code, you just try to minimize and try to write as update it as much as possible to minimize the amount of code that you're writing through here. So this could possibly be another way to kind of really minimize this, and maybe I just got to do a little bit of styling to that output, so I'm just gonna comma. And also maybe I'll just add some quick styling to second to make it look a little bit more like a button. And it's going to give it a border. So maybe that will make it look a little bit more like a button. So there's obviously quite a bit that we can do, but essentially we have this, the top one is working under this button, and the bottom one is working under this button, and we can actually do something like a versus or something like that, where we've got something to split up the two values. So I should move that in as well. Going to quickly call a class main text, close that up, and actually I'm going to give all three of these that same class. And again, this is that objective where you are just trying to minimize as much as possible. So now I could minimize that, and we should have all three looking very similar. It just took a second there to show up. So now we have this versus, and I'm not sure why that didn't center, but yeah, we'd have to play around with it a little bit. But now we've got our two opposing selections here, so we can do scissors versus rock, and then we can also even add in conditional statements. So maybe once one of these buttons is clicked, that part of the function is that we do a check to see what the value of this one is, and we compare it to the value of that, and we can do some comparison to determine which one is winning. So yeah, so again, there's quite a bit that we can do with this, and we can really build out this code to make it a really interactive game using JavaScript.